Yeah, yeah. Making her way to the mic. They start dimming the lights. You start feeling alright. From Birmingham, home of the Teddy Longs, and the room is stutters. More once you discover. For all of the lovers, Whitney Houston and Roman Reigns. For all of the lovers, and Mickey James and Marvin Gaye. For all of the lovers, and Sasha Banks, Janelle Monáe, Silk, Sonic, and Paige. Allow me to say, look, I just found a place, sweet escape for every one of us. I was kinda late, cause I just made it off the struggle bus. Walking by the fate, cause I know it's right in front of us. Yo, I ain't with the hate, gotta focus on what's great. Ladies and gentlemen, Steph Hardy is on the air. Had to drop a couple bars just to make you all aware. So, sit back, relax, enjoy the show. You know I go by Joe or the rest of the flow, yeah.
Hey y'all! Welcome to a new episode of the Hardy Wrestling Podcast with your girl Stephanie Hardy. Of course, if this isn't your first time listening to the show or watching the show live or whatever, thank you for continuing on this journey with me. And of course, if this is your first time listening or watching the show live, welcome to the vibe. I'm so happy to have you on this Saturday evening where there's a lot going on in the city. There's so much going on in the wrestling world, but I am here to be your guide to talk about those things. And I am just so glad to be before you here again on this new episode of HWP. Thank all of you for watching on all live platforms. And of course, I want to thank you if you watch this later because you can spend your time doing anything else, but you are spending time with me as I talk about everything that's going on in the wacky and wild world of professional wrestling. So, hi. Thank you so much. So, a lot has happened in this week, even though it's been a pretty chill week for the most part. But of course, there are some events, on the horizon. Of course, AEW and New Japan Pro Wrestling will be having Forbidden Door coming up soon. And then this weekend, tomorrow, will be NXT Battleground in Las Vegas. And then, of course, you have Clash at the Castle next weekend, too. So this month is basically jam packed with a lot of wrestling stuff that's going on, as well as TNA having an event as well. I believe it's Against All Odds. There's a lot going on in this month with professional wrestling, but I hope that I can be your guide to help you through everything that's happening and all the goings on and stuff. So before I dive into like the actual docket of what I made for news and gossip ish. A piece of news and gossip ish did drop on, I believe, a little bit earlier tonight, where Ricochet was in the news. He put in his notice. It is rumored and it was reported by PW Insider that Ricochet, the current WWE Speed Champion, has put in his notice to leave WWE after his contract is up this summer. Now, of course, Ricochet has been one of the pillars, I guess you could say, one of the personalities who came through NXT Black and Gold, and he is so super talented, of course, being a former North American champion for NXT and just having a stellar career outside of WWE before he set foot there. And of course, now he is the WWE Speed Champion, which is, of course, a show that they have on Wednesdays at noon on X/Twitter. If you do catch that, of course, those matches are 3 minutes long. But yeah, he was the first ever WWE Speed Champion. And at this point on WWE Raw, he's been on sort of like in a feud with Braun Breaker and a little bit of a feud with Ilya Dragunov as well. They've had a series of really great matches take place on the show. So it was kind of, a lot of people have been sort of speculating that maybe he could decide to leave, because a lot of people were mentioning, especially Will Ospreay and AEW was mentioning that they would love to see what he would do outside of WWE if he were to decide to leave. But of course, this hasn't been officially confirmed, but we do have to wait and see. But of course, here at the Hardy Wrestling Podcast, we wish him all of the best because he is a very talented guy. He has, oodles and noodles of talent. And of course, he is also engaged to be married to Samantha Irvin, who is probably one of the most prolific ring announcers of the modern era. And, they're a beautiful power couple. So, hopefully, Ricochet will find his footing elsewhere if that's what he wants to do. And of course, if he does decide that he wants to stay and renew his contract, that's entirely up to him. But as long as he does what makes him happy, then that's all that matters. So I did have to address that a little bit because that news did just break a few minutes ago. So I just wanted to address that first. So, also in news and gossipish, there was something that I forgot to mention in my last episode where, of course, my episode was titled Sexy, Saweetie, and Monet. But in the excitement of everything that happened last week on my episode, I completely blanked on mentioning Saweetie and her appearance at Sukeban Wrestling. So, for those who do not know what Sukeban is, it is basically a wrestling promotion that's all women, all Japanese women, kind of like Stardom, but they kind of have like these outlandish personalities that sort of put you in the mind of wow. So, basically, Sukeban is what would happen if you mashed up wow with Stardom. And the action is really great. I've heard nothing but good things about it. Their general manager is WWE Hall of Famer Bull Nakano, who is, one of the best women's wrestlers of a past time. And even their world championship with Sukiban is really beautiful. Like if you've ever seen a picture of that title, it is probably one of the most gorgeous championship titles I've ever seen. So they did have a show in Los Angeles, and that was the show that Saweetie made her appearance at. She made an entrance with one of the Sukiban stars. So I thought this was absolutely amazing, especially considering you had Sexy Red pop up on NXT, and a lot of people, including myself, are definitely manifesting Megan Thee Stallion possibly showing up in WWE or anywhere else. But this is feeding into the rap and wrestling era that we are currently in, and this made me really excited to see that she would participate in something like this. It was really amazing that she did this for this all-female promotion. And Sukiban is definitely, even though it's a newer promotion, it deserves a whole lot of, fanfare and a whole lot of more exposure. So I just thought this was really amazing when I saw it. And I hope that more of this continues to happen when it comes to wrestling and rap. So big ups to Saweetie. I am so sorry that I did not mention this in my last episode, but I wanted to make it right and mention it in this episode because it is still an amazing time to be a music fan and a wrestling fan at the same time, especially a rap fan too. So big ups to Saweetie, big ups to Sukiban, and I can't wait to see what else they get done in the future with any more appearances or just with their superstars in general. Also, in news and gossipish, we have Tiffany Stratton making some exclusive news from the Hollywood Reporter. Miss Ma'am has gone ahead and signed up with some representation that's really major for her and her exposure. She will hold on one second. She signed with Paradigm, and this was reported by the Hollywood Reporter. She signed with them with representation in all eras. And they mentioned in this statement that, of course, Stratton, 25, is a rising star in the wrestling world thanks to her mix of character and physical work, as well as her charisma and social media reach. She boasts 551,000 followers on Instagram and 257,000 on TikTok. And Paradigm is betting that her stock will only rise as wrestling is poised for greater exposure thanks to a $5 billion 10-year deal with Netflix starting in January 2025. Paradigm also hopes to model Stratton's career on trajectories flown by Dwayne The Rock Johnson, John Cena, and Dave Bautista, all whom originated on WWE and who have become some of the most bankable names in Hollywood. And the statement also mentioned that Paradigm will work to build Tiffany Stratton's business across books, graphic novels, acting, brand partnerships, speaking engagements, and more. So this is really major for her. She is relatively young, and she is of course a former NXT Women's Champion. She has a lot of athletic prowess that is on display, and her attitude um and her character definitely gives you something amazing to invest in and to look at, because essentially she's SmackDown's alluring mean girl. That's really what she is. And she patterns a lot of her character off of High School Musical Sharpay Evans, which was played by Ashley Tisdale for those Disney Channel heads. And it's just, her character and everything about her is pretty alluring at this point. So it made sense when I saw this announcement being made for her. So I am glad that she is making business moves on behalf of herself and her brand. The first time a brand deal like this was talked about in terms of representation, it was when Bianca Belair signed up with WME, and she also became an ambassador for Fenty Beauty. So that was really cool. So I'm glad that Tiffany is following in Bianca's footsteps in that regard. But I'm just going to need for Tiffany Stratton to be a little bit more careful about the sounds that she uses for her videos on Instagram. I may not have talked about it when it first happened, but I know about it, and all I want is just for her to be careful. That's all. Be careful. That's all I care about. But congrats to her and her representation now. So, moving forward, and speaking of NXT, their viewership was pretty high this week. Of course, heading into Battleground, which will be happening tomorrow. WrestleNomics, shout out to them having their stellar numbers, announced that their numbers were up across the board for Tuesday night shows, and that it averaged 768,000 viewers, and it increased once again from last week's show, which averaged 703,000 viewers. And of course, that was the episode where Sexy Red made her appearance and revealed the NXT Women's North American title, as well as participated throughout the show. So that was really amazing. And this also marks the highest viewing audience for NXT TV since the January 2nd episode. So it's really cool that this is happening for NXT. And I think I want to give a shout out to the wrestling realm, because this week they had a discussion about whether they feel like NXT is truly a third brand at this point. And in my opinion, NXT was always a third brand even before it was on television, because in my mind, what made it a third brand as a wrestling fan was the fact that they would have their NXT takeover pay-per-views on larger weekends that would be surrounded by a big four pay-per-view. And those matches at times would outshine the main rosters, and that is what made it a third brand to me. Now, of course, on television they wouldn't always treat them as if, they were a third brand. They would always sort of treat them as secondary, or making it seem like, oh well, this is the big leagues and you were down there in the little NXT. But I always felt like NXT was a third brand. But now in the more modern era of NXT, it's abundantly clear that they're gaining more traction, getting more attention than they ever have before, and just the way that it operates just feels fresher and different in the way that they're presenting talent, and also even presenting talent that have previously been on other wrestling promotions now. It's just really fresh and really cool. So NXT definitely deserves all of this praise that it's getting, and for its rise in viewership. All the newer talent there definitely deserve that viewership as well, and that show just deserves that growth, because NXT has just always been that show to me. So to see it grow and have this type of, hype behind it just really makes me really happy. So big ups to NXT and their continued growth as the third brand. They're killing it. They're absolutely killing it. But we're going to get into that a little bit later. So, moving more into news and gossipish, Randy Orton talked about his WWE return and his injury that he faced on an interview with Sportskeeda Wrestle Binge, and he explained that he would have remained involved in WWE in some way or shape or form if his in-ring career had ended due to the injury that he had that required surgery. Now, of course, if you may or may not remember, Randy Orton was written off of television in May of 2022 after RK Bro was defeated by the Usos with the whole bloodline thing going on. And he had to have surgery on his back, and he was gone for what felt like a long time, because when you think of consistent stars in WWE in the past 10 to 15 years, you think of Randy Orton. And to not have him on the show, it's like you could tell something was missing, even though, of course, the show had to go on. But, you felt that there was something missing. And of course, he made his return at Survivor Series War Games, and it was really cool. He helped Team Cody get to victory over the Judgment Day, and that was amazing. So he basically mentioned that he would have tried to have stayed involved if he would have had to retire. And a lot of people did speculate online that, what if this is it? Like, what if he is retiring? Because outside of him being injured, he's been wrestling for a long period of time. Like, I remember vividly how much I did not like his character as a kid when he was with Evolution, because he was just always just really mean and just really sinister. And this was during my time of which I did not like any heels in wrestling whatsoever. Now, I have, of course, grown a bit as a wrestling fan, but back then, little Stephanie did not like heels, and he was just one of those heels that I just enjoyed booing and, just trashing over and over again, because he just got on my nerves, and he would just always be disrespectful to the legends all the time as a legend killer. Like, he would just be mad disrespectful, and I just didn't like him at that point. But now that I've grown up, and just come to appreciate what he has offered throughout his career, like, for it to, if it had ended last year, I would have been pretty sad, because that really would have felt like the end of an era, because it was him, it was Adam Copeland slash Edge, and then it was John Cena, all right there together. So for all of them, to just be out of it would have just messed me up inside. In my heart. But Randy Orton healed up, and he's back, and he's in the swing of things. So big ups to him and his healing. And I'm glad that he would have still found a way to be involved in the business somehow. That's great. So big ups to him. Also in the news, we have Christian Cage talking about the ins and outs of his AEW contract he um, that he's currently in. And his contract is up to 3 years in AEW. And he had an interview with Chris Van Vliet, so shout out to him. He's really cool. And he said, I always said that I would do it until it wasn't fun, and that was my barometer on it. So how can I not be having fun right now? It's still fun. I have no timeline. I signed a contract. I think I have another 3 years left on this contract, so we'll get to the end of that and then see what happens. But I feel like I have a lot of knowledge. I don't know everything, but I know a lot. And I feel like I think about the business differently, and I lay out matches and I see matches differently than other people do. I would like to, at some point when the time is right, to obviously give back to the business that has done what it's done for me. Now, of course, he debuted in AEW at Revolution in March of 2021, 2 months after he was in the Royal Rumble, and he's been basically popping off ever since. He also said in his interview with Chris Van Vliet that John Moxley recruited him to AEW after learning that he had not signed a contract with WWE, and his heel turn has definitely been the talk of the town, especially since he's formed the patriarchy with Luchasaurus and Nick Wayne. I'm not calling him Killswitch. I mean, I know his name is Killswitch, and I respect that, but in my mind, he's always going to be Luchasaurus to me. I'm sorry. So Christian Cage just seems like he seems to be having the time of his life right now. And as long as he's doing that, then that's truly all that matters. But I'm more than sure if he does decide to not be a wrestler anymore and just retire, he'll still be involved and give back in some way, shape, or form. But I will say one thing though, it did kind of make me sad when Edge slash Adam Copeland went to AEW and they didn't have a tag team. But I guess it was for the best, because Christian has worked his way up to being a solo star now. He's not just the guy that's next to Edge anymore. Like, he is Christian Cage, and he deserves to be that individual for right now. But of course, the door could always be open for them to reunite at some point. Um, but you just never know. So big ups to Christian Cage and his life contract moves. Also in news and gossipish, we have Nikki Garcia, of course, formerly known as Nikki Bella of the Bella Twins, and making a really cool announcement this week that she will be one of the celebrity contestants on season 3 of The Traitors, which will be taking place next year in January. This is a reality show. That gained its popularity on Peacock a bit, and of course, it's consisting of 20 celebrities, of mix of both celebrities and everyday Americans as they compete against each other in a murder mystery game. And a handful of the competitors are selected as traitors, while the remainder of the participants are labeled as faithful. And their goal is to identify who the traitors are in the group. And the winners at the end of the show share a grand prize of $200,000. So this is really interesting because Nikki has an amazing history when it comes to reality television. Of course, being one half with her sister of the center of Total Divas, and then Total Bellas afterward, and then of course being on Dancing with the Stars with her husband Artem, and just being on other shows as well. So her being on the Traders is pretty cool and it's very intriguing for the most part. So big ups to her for getting her money that way on that reality show. But the first time I heard of The Traitors as a reality show, it was actually the Australian version of The Traitors, and it featured Simone Williams, who is a wrestler, but we know her personally in the Hardy Wrestling Podcast slash Wow World as Princess Aussie from Wow Superheroes. So to see her be a part of this reality show, The Traitors Australia, and being on WoW was just really interesting to sort of look at on social media. And even though she wound up being eliminated and she was one of the faithful ones, it was just really cool to see her in two different entities at the same time. So Nikki Garcia is not going to be the first wrestler to be a part of the show, but she will be on the American side of things. So big ups to her for that cool move. I hope that she has fun and maybe wins her some more money. Who knows? But yeah, also in news and gossipish, we had Trick Williams, the NXT champion, who is of course set to face all ego Ethan Page for the NXT championship at Battleground tomorrow. Talk about what it was like to work with Sexy Red on that episode of NXT. Um, on an interview that he had with the Masked Man show with Cass, and David Shoemaker, he mentioned that working with Sexy Red was just really fun. He was shaking his dreads as like the way the song says, and he said that "Shake Your Dreads" is his favorite song, and that he's really excited, and that hip hop is what he loves and what he's familiar with. And to find out that Sexy Red is interested and wanted to come to support the champion at NXT, I'm always down for that. It was a great experience. And he said that meeting Sexy Red was like meeting one of his cousins, honestly. He said she's a real chick from around the way. When I met her on Tuesday, she's like, Trick Williams, I know who you are. I know who you are too. She was game and ready to have a good time. It was natural out there and fun. My entrance, she spiced it up. I wasn't expecting all of that. I told her, do your thing and we'll do our thing. We'll make it look good together. And that's what happened. Now, in talking about that entrance, him and Javon Evans made that entrance for their tag team match. And Sexy Red was twerking and then she hit a split in the ring. And then when Trick turned around and saw it, somebody took a picture of him in the moment and he had a shocked look on his face. And it was so funny. To see that picture after the fact. But yeah, like they really did look like they were having the time of their lives. And I mentioned that on the previous episode that Sexy Red genuinely looked like she wanted to be there. And of course, she will be hosting Battleground on tomorrow night. So it's going to be cool. So big ups to Sexy Red and to Trick Williams, and I hope that he does retain his title. And that's all. Well, actually, no, that's not all for news and gossipish. I got one more thing to talk about. In terms of NXT and Battleground, Jordan Grace gave Shawn Michaels an amazing present. Of course, since she's been making appearances on NXT after she made her challenge to Roxanne for her NXT Women's title. She's been having all sorts of fun. And one of the things that she did was that she gave Shawn Michaels, who's been running NXT, a chef's hat that says Chef Michaels, which leans into the meme that people have been making on social media since he's been running NXT and basically saying that he's been cooking. And of course, when people say let them cook, that means that they're actually doing something really good and you just need to back off and let them do their thing. And Shawn Michaels has definitely been doing that. So, Jordan Grace posted this picture on social media and said that she had never been so excited to give a gift before this. So I thought this was really nice. So big ups to Jordan Grace, the TNA Knockouts champion, giving this gift to Shawn Michaels. And I'm sure he really did love it. And it's just really fun. So now this is really all for news and gossipish. And now we're going to move to a special segment. And this special segment is going to involve me giving my predictions for NXT Battleground, which is, of course, taking place tomorrow night at the UFC Apex in Las Vegas. This seems like a very vibrant show. The card seems really amazing. I'm so pumped for it because I'm always pumped for NXT events because they definitely bring the house down every time. So I'm really pumped about it. I'm really excited. So this is going to be a stellar show. I already know it is. I'm really excited about it. And of course, like I mentioned earlier, Sexy Red will be hosting the show, so I'm sure she'll be there with more of her fun shenanigans as well. Now, of course, y'all know I got to start with my women. I got to start with the girls. And I want to give my 2 cents about all the stories before I give my prediction. So this is gonna this just to give you guys um a view into how this is going to go. So, for Roxanne Perez versus Jordan Grace, this is going to be solely for the NXT Women's Championship. Jordan Grace's TNA Knockouts Championship will not be on the line here, but of course, this sent shockwaves throughout the wrestling world when she popped up on NXT as the person who was going to challenge Roxanne. And it gagged Roxanne, it gagged the NXT audience that was there in Florida, and it gagged me. And I was just like, oh my God, Jordan. And of course, if you may or may not remember, she popped up in WWE in February. Well, not in February, in January at the Royal Rumble. And it was just really cool to see her participate and mix it up with a lot of the WWE girls and everything. She looks like she belongs here. And I believe that even though she loves being a part of TNA as a knockout, because that's exactly where she started her career and everything, she just looked like she fits in to the NXT side of things. And even with this past episode of NXT, she just looked comfortable. And I just can't wait to see what all this entails because this has triggered a ripple effect in people addressing TNA stars who they would like to see go to battle in NXT or any other creative ways that things could happen. So this has just been a very positive thing for me. And also just for the wrestling community as a whole, like I'm really happy that this is happening. And then Roxanne, she's had a little bit of a run in TNA as well, because she defended her Ring of Honor women's world title against Deonna Purrazzo there. And that was a really good match. So there's a lot of history here in this match, and I'm just really excited about it. But I'm going to predict that Jordan Grace is going to win the NXT Women's title for a number of reasons. Number one, because I don't know exactly who else at this point would be able to challenge Roxanne for the title on the WWE side of things, because it could be argued that Roxanne could have very well been called up to the main roster a long time ago, but this iteration of her character here as a bad girl, as basically a person who's obsessively trying to keep her NXT Women's title and angry, and stuff like that is resonating a bit, but I'm just wondering like who else would there be for Roxanne to face? And I feel like for Jordan to win this title and then to become Jordan two belts with this and the Knockouts title, it just makes her one of the most wanted women in all of professional wrestling. And I just feel like it would be amazing for her and it would be amazing for TNA if she did win this title. And then on top of that, with Against All Odds coming up in a couple of weeks, um, any person could challenge her for either title or for all of the marbles and just give more opportunity, to whoever wants to go for it. So I'm predicting that Jordan Grace will win this championship and become Jordan two belts. It'll be great for the health of women's wrestling, and I just feel like um I just don't know at this point who else would challenge Roxanne here, but I'm pretty sure they would make it make sense if Roxanne were to retain. But I'm just betting that Jordan Grace is just a force that just cannot be denied and she will win the title. So yeah. In the comments, I see Jeffrey in here as well as Eric saying hi on YouTube. Thank you guys so much for watching. Jeffrey saying, I know Scott Demore is proud of this matchup. Oh, I know he is. Um, I could only imagine how weird it must be for him to be watching this from the outside looking in after he was so passionate about TNA and its growth. So I don't know, but I am excited for this match. Like I'm super excited and I'm predicting that Jordan Grace will win. So yeah, it's gonna be cool. Another women's match that I'm definitely looking forward to on Battleground is the underground match between Lola Vice and Shayna Baszler. Of course, their partnership fell apart because Shayna just wanted Lola Vice to sort of take everything a little bit more seriously and stop all the dancing. But Lola was like, no, I want to be myself. And when they got to fighting, it was just really, intense. So Ava said, look, you guys are going to fight at Battleground. But then Shayna interrupted her and said, no, like we're gonna fight it underground. So I thought this was really an amazing announcement to make. I'm really excited to see both of these women with an MMA background get in each other's face. Like I'm really excited about that. But the thing that I will mention that does irritate me a little bit, and I believe this irritates me across the board when it comes to women's wrestling as a whole, is just the constant, I guess, bashing and shaming of women who just so happen to have hips and just so happen to choose to either shake their hips or show their hips off or whatever. And I feel like if we are living in the age of 2024 where there are people actively, more specifically men, telling women what to do with their bodies, then we as women shouldn't be made to say things that just sound really ridiculous when it comes to, women with hips. I mean, just because you have hips and just because you choose to shake your hips doesn't make you any less of a serious athlete. And Lola Vice, for all accounts, is a good wrestler and she has a good future ahead of her as a wrestler, mixing it up, with her MMA style. But just because she be dancing, like, doesn't make her any less of an athlete. And just because she's beautiful doesn't make her any less of an athlete either. And I really wish that that notion would just stop being um put out on television all the time. Like it's just really, really gross now. Like it's 2024. Like it's not like they're being made to do it. And I've said this before. It's not like women are being made to do it by an ugly power that's just, relegating them to just eye candy. No, you can very well be beautiful and be eye candy and also kick ass in the ring. So I feel like that notion just really needs to stop. And um I am looking forward to this match, but I think I'm going to predict that Shayna Baszler might win because she is just really tough and she just has a lot to prove here, from not even just being at, Battleground, but then also being in the tag team picture with Zoe Stark. Like I just really feel like she has a lot to prove here, to prove that she is, you know, the the badass that everybody should fear because she has so much other stuff to prove because she has been a tag team champion in WWE before, but at one point, and she mentioned this week on NXT, she was an unbeatable force. Like she was a two-time NXT Women's Champion. Like nobody was beating her. Everybody was getting choked out by her or made to tap out for her. And she needs to build that mystique back. And I feel like she has more to lose if she were to lose. So I'm predicting that because of her hunger and because of her desire to reclaim her dominance, that Shayna Baszler is going to win. But I will also predict that Lola Vice is going to give her, a heck of a time because, of course, we can't just undermine her or make it seem like, oh, well, she's not anything because she doesn't have as tough as an exterior as Shayna Baszler does. So yeah, I'm predicting that Shayna Baszler is going to win, but ultimately Lola Vice is going to have a really great showing here, and she'll recover from it, and it'll be okay. Jeffrey saying, "Preach, Steph. They can dance and kick ass." Yeah, thank you. Like both things can exist, guys, and it's literally okay. So, yeah, it's going to be a cool match though. And of course, you have the ladder match for the NXT Women's North American Championship between Michin, Mia Yim, Lash Legend, Kalani Jordan, Jada Parker, Sol Ruka, and Fallon Henley. I am so excited for this match because number one, when this title was announced at Stand and Deliver, I yelled to the top of my lungs, and I was just really excited that a mid card title for the women was finally up into existence, and NXT was definitely the perfect place for it because their women's division is just so stacked and just so vibrant with talent. I was just so happy that they were having this opportunity, and of course, the championship itself is just so beautiful. It looks exactly like the North American title for the men, except it has my favorite white strap in the back, and the colors are a brighter red, and it puts you in the mind of a red velvet cake, and it's cute. But I have to have that title. It's beautiful. It's gorgeous. And this ladder match is going to be sick because you have people like Kalani Jordan and Sol Ruka who hit aerial moves like nobody's business because they're former gymnasts and surfers and everything. Like, so it's going to be a sick match with all of the ladders and stuff. Like, I'm so excited for that. But then you have, Mia, who is really good in extreme matches like this, and has been in the past. So I can't wait to see how Michin, gets it cracking in the ring with all of these, younger women. And then you have Lash. Um, who is just a powerhouse. I'm just really excited about what all these women have to offer. And I'm definitely intrigued by what Jada Parker is going to offer because Miss Ma'am got on the microphone this past Tuesday and decided that she was going to go for broke and destroy everyone. So I can't wait to see what she does, and I can't wait to see what Fallon Henley does too. And it's so hard to predict because here again, I'm just really excited that the majority of these women in this match are all black women, and I talked about the how important that is for representation, and just how great that is. But I'm predicting that Kalani Jordan is going to win the NXT Women's North American title because she has been in a lot of high profile matches since her career has gotten, jumped off in NXT. And she even made it to the finals of the women's breakout tournament, but then she lost to Lola Vice. She was in the deadline match and almost won that as well. Like she's just been in situations where she has faced off with the best of the best for these top opportunities, but hasn't won yet. And I feel like that should have been expressed more in her promo more than, her just saying that, that the people deserve a champion like her. And yes, the people do deserve a champion like her, but I really feel like she is probably the most like she's the greatest underdog in this whole match because she has so much talent, but yet when it comes to like bigger opportunities like this, she has a tendency to fall short. And I want her to win this so bad because she's just so talented and she just has an it factor when it comes to her baby faceness. So if she became the first champion, it would just be really great for her growth. So I'm predicting Kalani Jordan is going to win the title, and it'll be amazing for her. Even though it's so hard to pick because all of these women are just so great and so talented. Um, but I'm predicting Kalani Jordan. But I'm just really proud of all these women. Definitely, definitely proud. But yeah, my pick is Kalani. Now, moving into the men's side of things, we have the North American title on the line. And of course, you have Oba Femi, who's sort of like an immovable object at this point, fighting in a triple threat match between Joe Coffey of Gallus and Wes Lee. And I'm so happy that Wesley is back. Like, I'm so happy he's back because he has to be one of the most talented individuals on the planet. And the fact that he came up, with the Rascals in a team, in like a three-man team and then a tag team, only for him to have to rise on his own and be his own man. Like he has just done a phenomenal job at that. And he's just enthralling and you just can't help but root for him because he's just that dude and he's just so cool. Um, Joe Coffey at this point is just has just come back, and of course, him and his Gallus brothers have been attacking people left and right, trying to assert their dominance. But Obafemi, it's just hard to beat. This man, he like when he cut that promo on NXT a few weeks ago, and he said, "I am the mountain that you cannot climb." I felt that in my soul. Like I felt it in my soul because every time Obafemi speaks, it just sounds like he knows who he is and he knows his power. And I just don't think it's going to be that easy to try to take down somebody like him, even though, of course, this is triple threat rules and Oba doesn't have to be involved in the decision from the referee. Oh my God, like, I just feel like beating Obafemi, it's just not uh it's just not a thing that you can just do. Like it's just not something you can just do for the sake of doing it. So I'm predicting, as much as I would love for Wesley to win it back because he was definitely one of the best North American champions NXT's had, I'm predicting that Oba Femi is going to retain because that man is just he's just that dude. He's just that guy. Um he's unmovable. So yeah, he's gonna retain the title. Eric in the comments saying, "My fellow Isaac retains the title." Woot. Yes, yes. Oba is definitely gonna retain the North American title, and I just don't know who could beat him at this point. Now I'm sure Wesley will definitely not give up, and I would love to see that from him because Oba even told him, "You have the heart of a lion," and I was just like, "Yeah, he does." But Oba is Oba, and he's going to retain that title. So that's my prediction for that. And then, of course, we have the NXT tag team titles on the line with Axiom and Nathan Frazier going up against the OC. That's Carl Anderson and Luke Gallows. Um, I feel very confused about the OC because it seems like when they're in NXT, they are like these rough and tough people who are just trying to prove more of themselves and add to their really huge resume and just, be rough and angry a lot of the time. And they even attacked Axiom and Nathan Frazier like in the merchandise section, well the merchandise booth that they had in Florida in the parking lot, which is of course one of NXT's most dangerous places. But I feel like with this has nothing to do. I mean, even with them on SmackDown, it's almost like who they are there and who they are in NXT are almost two different people. And it's just kind of like, yeah, I just don't know. But maybe this will be their chance to sort of lean further into their darkest side because they seem to be standing side by side with AJ Styles, even after AJ basically dissed them and said that he doesn't want them near him anymore. I don't know. That part is really confusing too. Um, I know that this is going to be a hard fought match, but I'm predicting that Nathan Frazier and Axiom are going to retain the titles. Um, because I'm just not ready to watch them, give up the titles just yet. I know that sounds weird, but I'm just not ready for them to just give it up yet. And I just feel like the OC, they're just angry and, they're just being spiteful at this point. So we'll see what happens. But I just believe that Nathan Frazier and Axiom will definitely retain their titles. So yeah. It's gonna be a good match though, because you're gonna have differing styles of wrestling here between both teams, because you have one team that's very agile and very quick, of course, like their style is, but then you have the toughness of Luke Gallows and Carl Anderson, and it's gonna make for a good match. But yeah, Nathan and Axiom are definitely gonna retain to me. So that's just how I feel about that one. And finally, we have Trick Williams defending his NXT championship. This is his first defense, by the way, versus Ethan Page, who shook up the wrestling world by making his NXT slash WWE debut after leaving AEW and such. And he's the one that's been going around attacking um everyone in the like in Noam Dar and the metaphor and everything. And then he attacked Trick Williams and said that he wanted to take his title. And he was irritating Ava because he was holding up and making it seem like he deserved everything on this big contract or whatever. But it was revealed that on this contract, he had a guaranteed championship match against Trick Williams. And this is great in terms of an opportunity for Ethan Page going for a major title like this. But I honestly feel that Trick Williams is going to retain the title because he deserves to retain the title, number one. And number two, this is going to be a true test for Trick, but it's not one that he can't pass. And that's not to say or discredit Ethan Page in any way, but I'm not as familiar with his in-ring work, though I know he's been wrestling for a very long time. Even before AEW was a thing, he was wrestling still. So I do give respect and credit to that. However, Trick Williams is a man that has proven that once you underestimate him, it only makes him want to go harder. And I feel like a lot of people in the wrestling space have been underestimating him because it's Ethan Page and because they feel like him winning the title would be cool, or it would shake things up a bit and then give Trick, the chance to do a chase or whatever. But you also have the idea that Trick Williams cannot lose this title because it would make it seem like he's just a champion that looks good on paper. Because y'all remember when he won the North American title, he only held that title for 72 hours before he got screwed out of it by the Judgment Day and Dominic Mysterio. We don't need anything like that happening again. Trick Williams deserves to be, the guy the guy that's the face of NXT at this point. And just because he might not have the long resume that Ethan Page, has does not make him any less credible of an athlete, and it doesn't make him any less credible of a champion. So I'm predicting that Trick Williams is going to win this title and, well, not win, retain his title, and it's going to be a good match. But Trick is definitely going to show and prove all the doubters wrong, and he's going to retain his title and remain the face, okay? Because no one's going to get tired of Trick anytime soon. They're just not. There are people on whole other shows chanting "Whoop that Trick." So yeah, he'll be fine. He's gonna retain the title, and yeah, him. I can see him and Ethan Page having a back and forth, like a giant big feud or something like that. But I don't see Ethan Page winning it like after he just got up here to NXT. Like that's just weird. So no, Trick is keeping the title. So those are all of my predictions for NXT Battleground tomorrow. I hope you like them. I am, even though I do enjoy the fact that I can make predictions and they can turn out to be right. If they turn out to be wrong, I'm okay with that too, because I did make predictions for Double or Nothing and that show went a completely different way. So I'm definitely okay with my predictions not being all the way correct. But, I just do think they're fun to do. So I just wanted to do that because it's tomorrow and because I love NXT so much. So I'm really excited and it's going to be great. So that's the end of this special segment with my NXT Battleground predictions. And now we're going to move into what I liked in wrestling this week. And it was a lot. It was a lot of stuff that went on this week in wrestling. But of course, we're going to start with Raw. And I have to talk about Liv Morgan's weird flirtation with Dominic Mysterio. Of course, Dom has been drawing the ire of a lot of people because he's been out here ruining people's chances at the women's world title. And because he's been ruining chances for Becky Lynch to, get her title back, Liv has it. And Liv has been on her revenge tour trying to take everything away from Rhea Ripley. That even now that she has the title, that's not enough for her. She wants to come for everything. And she keeps flirting with Dominic over and over again, rubbing his hair, making it seem like she wants to kiss him again and all of the above. And it is just the weirdest thing ever. And it's just like, it grosses me out a little bit because I'm just like, girl, out of all of the men, you could throw your. I mean, I would prefer if you weren't throwing yourself at a man anyway. But out of all the men you go for, it's Dominic, and it's just really, I just don't like it. It's just really gross, and it's just like, okay, girl, okay, okay, okay. And I know that she's doing it to get under, Rhea Ripley's skin because she's not there and everything. But I just really feel like at this point, Liv is really begging for a butt whooping at this point. And I can't wait for Rhea to come back and destroy her and like kick her in the head or something because it's just like the lengths that she is going um to get her revenge is just a whole lot. And her and Dominic having this thing going on is just a little bit much. Even to the point of her interfering and trying to save Dominic and save JD McDonough from, getting their butts whooped on Raw too. It's just kind of like, girl, you really are trying to become the new girl in Judgment Day. And it is just, no, stop it. Like, you are so much more than this. You do not have to do this. But this is where we're at. So, yeah. Okay, Miss Girl. Since you want to be out here and act like, you know, Dominic is just this hot guy. Okay, girl. Whatever. Um, it's like watching a car accident. It's really crazy. Another thing from Raw that I thought was funny, I wouldn't say it's something that I necessarily like per se, but it's something that I did think was funny. During Braun Breaker and Ricochet's match, Ricochet was injured. He had the Kinesio tape on his ribs and everything from the spear that he took from Braun Breaker. But he still wanted to fight. And with the way that Braun Breaker was beating up on him, WWE's media team was really petty, and they decided to put the camera on Samantha Irvin's face, and she looked absolutely over it. She looked so sad and disappointed, and I was like, look at y'all making my girl sad from watching, well, from like putting this camera on her face like this while her fiance is getting his butt kicked. It's just really disappointing and sad. Like, I want to see Samantha happy. So, can y'all just make Ricochet win some more so Samantha doesn't have to be sad? Like, please, because no. Like, I want Samantha to be happy. So, I just thought this was really petty how they just did that. I was like, y'all did not have to show her looking this disappointed like this, but Samantha's a star, so it's okay. But Ricochet tried his best against Braun Breaker. He really did. So maybe they'll get a rematch down the line, or maybe he'll get his revenge so Samantha can smile again. So yeah, but I just thought this was just a really funny part of Monday Night Raw. I was just like, God dang, y'all didn't have to zoom in on her like that. It was funny. Another part of Raw that has me very concerned is Kiana James. Now, of course, Kiana James got drafted to Raw, and she had her first in-ring she had her in-ring debut this past Monday against Natalia, who's been fighting everybody back and forth on Raw and NXT, so shout out to her for that. But Kiana James's intentions are giving me pause a bit. Um because before she even got in the ring on Raw, she said that she had been, taking advice from Adam Pierce, the general manager, and watching him and how he runs Monday Night Raw and everything, and just complimenting him excessively a lot. Well, not excessively a lot. Oh my God, I said that basically twice. Um, and complimenting him a lot. And a part of me is just like, you seem to be talking about Adam Pierce and the job he's doing quite a bit, and you're talking about it more than you're really talking about, wrestling, improving yourself in the ring. And on commentary, they mentioned how she has, business acumen from her time, um, and all of her certifications or whatnot that we learned that she had in NXT. So, with that being said, I think that Kiana James might be plotting a hostile takeover of Monday Night Raw, and she might put Adam Pierce out of a job and become the new general manager. And I know that sounds really crazy and diabolical, but creatively, it just makes sense. Like, for all of what she's been saying about Adam Pierce, I just really feel like she really might be gunning for a general manager job. Like, and she might want to take over. So, let me know if you guys think that this idea is too far fetched. But just the more I watch it and the more I watch her, the more I just feel like, why does it feel like she really might be coming for Adam Pierce's general manager job? I don't know. That's just me. And I know I have a pretty crazy imagination, but I just feel like that would just be some sick stuff. It would be cool though, because why not? Another thing that I find very intriguing is Sonya Deville's intentions when it comes to Zoe Stark, Shayna Baszler, and then even Natalia. Now, of course, Sonya Deville came back after healing from her injury and also getting married and doing lots of other stuff outside of wrestling as well. But she's come back to wrestling and she has on this high ponytail and this blazer and everything, basically giving what she used to give when she would, be in charge of, Raw or SmackDown or something like that. But she seems to be very, very interested in Zoe Stark and Shayna Baszler and their trajectory as a tag team, and also interested in Natalia too. And then even after Natalia lost her match against Kiana James, she made the reference of saying enough is enough and it's time for a change. And of course, for those who may or may not know, that is of course a reference to her late uncle Owen Hart, who said that in a promo, and that is a very famous saying that he made. Um, so I'm just wondering what this means. Like, are they gonna be a new faction? Like, are they just gonna try and take over Raw and NXT because Shayna and Natalia have been on both shows recently? Like, I'm just wondering what is the deal. But of course, we do have to wait and see. But it is very intriguing if this is what's going on. And also, let me just say, I think it's really kind of full circle how Sonya Deville could be starting this faction, but then when she came to the main roster, she was in a faction with Mandy Sachs and Saraya slash Paige as Absolution. So now she's starting her own, and it's just like, wow, that's pretty full circle and crazy. But I guess we just got to wait and see. But either way, I just think it's really interesting how it's happening. Then on top of that, Natalia said enough is enough and it's time for a change on NXT too. So I guess we just got to wait. But the seeds that they are planting are insane. It's really insane. Yeah, it's really insane. And then, of course, you have Bianca and Jade popping up, wanting to get in the face of Shayna Baszler and Zoe Stark, who, of course, won their opportunity to face them at any point. But as their match was going on in Hershey, Pennsylvania, it got messed up by Isla Dawn and Alba Fire, who wanted to insert themselves in the tag title picture because as of late, they really haven't been as active on television um, much as the other girls have been. So to see them on TV getting into the swing of things is really cool, and I'm happy for them in that regard. And they even went on to mention on SmackDown that they wanted to, that they basically jumped Bianca and Jade well, all after their match, and then they also got to fight it with Zoe and Shayna Baszler too. So now they've put themselves into this title picture, and I'm going to mention more about it later. But I am happy that they are in on the swing of things and back on television, because it was a while after they got called up where you just did not see them. And then even after you saw them, they were holding the NXT titles, and they wound up losing them to combine them with the women's tag titles. And it was just sad because you didn't see them anymore. But it's okay. We're getting into new things now, so it's cool. So another thing that I did not mention on last week's episode that I really did want to talk about, but because everything was everythinging, I didn't get a chance to address it. It's the trajectory of the New Day. I am very concerned about it. And 2 weeks ago on Raw, Kofi and Xavier had a segment with The Miz and R-Truth at an ice cream truck, and they were sort of being comedic with each other and having fun and everything, and talking about, what flavor The Miz was actually going to call them. Um, and hoping that he wasn't going to say chocolate because that's just the obvious thing. But a thing that happened was Karrion Cross popped up. And it seems like here lately he's been popping up on Kofi and Xavier and planting seeds, making it seem as if they are bringing each other down, or one of them is the weak link to the other. And this week on Raw, they had a match against the Authors of Pain, but I believe it was Kofi who got distracted and then got beat up on, and then they wound up winning over Xavier, and Xavier took the pin, and Karrion was making it seem like, what he was saying was true, and that Kofi really is the weak link that's holding Xavier Woods back. And this, of course, triggers the question of whether or not the New Day can continue to sustain, because it has been said in the past by Xavier that the New Day, that they didn't really want the New Day to truly break up the same stereotypical way that factions or tag teams break up, where it's always something rude or something nasty that happens on screen, and it's a brotherhood, and that they want to support each other in their pursuits. Because since they've been a thing, Kofi went for his moment at Kofi at WrestleMania, and he won the WWE title, and they were supporting him. When Big E wanted to go out on his own, Kofi had to step back because he had an injury, but he saw that Big E wanted to have his solo moment, and they backed off and let him have his solo moment. That has not happened for Xavier yet. And I always supported the idea of Xavier, having his moment and being on his own the same way that Kofi and Big E had done, because they are WWE champions. And as it stands now, Xavier is a tag team champion, and he's been King of the Ring. But as far as like a large championship um, pursuit, that's not something that Xavier has ever done. And it can be argued that he could have done it a long time ago because of how talented he is, not even just on the mic and just with his charisma as a whole, but just because he's just really talented in the ring. And a lot of people overlook it a lot, but he really is really good. So a lot of people have been asking the question if the New Day is about to end at this point. And it's if this is where they're going, it's definitely going to hurt my feelings because I've always loved the New Day. I've always loved them. I was one of those people that when I saw that they were going to become a group, and they were like preachers at first, and they came out there with the choir and everything. I loved it because I'm a choir girl, I'm a church kid, so I related to it. And then the whole power of positivity thing, like I loved it. And yeah, from the beginning, I've always been a New Day girl. And they have done so much, not even just with their accomplishments and their championships, but just in the culture as a whole. They have just made wrestling better as a whole, and even made it better in terms of representation for Black men, um, being open and interested in other things and in quirky things. They have freed so many souls and so many people to just be themselves and to feel joy from doing whatever it is that they love, whether it's collecting sneakers or whether it's playing video games or whether it's watching Seinfeld or so many different things. Like they have just blessed the world of wrestling in a deeper cultural way that I say that they are the greatest faction of all time simply because of their reach. Their reach is further than just in wrestling, it's across the board. So to see them in this way, possibly in this way, because of course Big E is not active due to his injury, and to see that it might be Xavier to do it, it just, ooh, it's gonna hurt real bad if it's true, if that's what's going on. Or even if Kofi does it, it's still gonna hurt really bad because we've never really seen them be heels. Like, of course, when the New Day first got started, they were heels, but then they were putting out the positivity thing, which kind of made it a little bit murky. But still, they were never really heels. So to watch Kofi or Xavier be that way and possibly, lash out and have to fight each other, it's gonna hurt real bad. But it might be necessary for the growth of both of these men as a whole. So, whew, oh my God, it's definitely gonna hurt. But I will say this though, I am so happy that the New Day exists. I'm so happy that they have existed and have succeeded for as long as they have, whether it be as a tag team or as a three-man group. Like they've done so much. They've blessed my soul. They've just done everything. They've done everything they could possibly do. And if this is it, I just want to tell all three of them thank you for just being who you are, because you've just, you know, freed a lot of people, and you've given a lot of people the courage to truly be who they are, to be quirky, to be goofy, to be funny, and to be masculine as well. Like you've just done all these amazing things. And oh, if this is where they're going, it's gonna hurt. But if it's not where they're going, then I will take it all back and I'll be happy and I'll be okay. But Jesus, um, New Day possibly ending. Like I'm probably gonna cry. But yeah, I just wanted to take this time to really talk about that because it just keeps happening and it's just like no. But yeah, I just had to address that here because it's really hurting me. But this is where we're at. Um, Moving into other positive things, you have Jay Uso declaring himself for the Money in the Bank match for the men. And I think this is interesting because usually when stuff is going on before Money in the Bank, you have qualifying matches, or at least they did that in the past, where people would wrestle in qualifying matches to get a spot in the ladder match for the women and the men. But he came out, awesome interest and all, and talked about how appreciative he's been to people for supporting him in his solo run, and how, he really does want to win, big opportunities. And so, he declared himself for Money in the Bank. So this really might be Money in the Yeet, or it could be Yeet in the Bank. Either way, he's declared himself for it. And I, for one, am okay if he does win Money in the Bank for the men, because I want him to win a singles title. I want him to cash in on somebody so he can win the world heavyweight title. So I can cry and be happy about it. Like that would just be amazing if that's the case. But we do have to iron out the rest of the Money in the Bank card to see what's gonna happen. But I'm definitely here for Jay being Mr. Money in the Bank this year. I'm definitely here for it. So he deserves it, and I'm just glad the people are still feeling him even after everything that has happened. So, yeah, I'm here for Mr. Yeet in the Bank or Money in the Yeet. Yeah, either way, I'm here for it. So, big ups to him. So, moving into the NXT side of things, I really loved, and I mentioned this during my predictions, I really loved the Women's North American Title Summit, which was hosted by Booker T, who was just super excited about being surrounded by the women's division and stuff like that. And I just enjoyed hearing what a lot of these women had to say, but I was absolutely gagged by Miss Parker. Miss Parker. I was so gagged by Jada and everything that she said to everybody, but especially to Michin. Because Michin started it off, giving her, desires of what she wanted to do. Um, for the title and how she loves being in matches like this. But Jada went for the jugular and said, "Look, this isn't black and gold NXT, and you are on my time. Like, you brought your old self down here into what we were doing because you didn't have anything going on for yourself on SmackDown. So at NXT Battleground, I'm gonna beat your ass black and blue." And I was just like, now why did she go so hard? Jada! I just did not expect her to go so hard like that. And then she went for the jugular with Lash Legend too, because when Lash Legend was stating her case, she said, "Oh, I didn't know you could think about anything else besides Trick Willie." And I was like, "Oh, Jada Parker, Jesus." I feel like for someone who is relatively new to wrestling, like she just has it all together with her personality. And her athleticism can definitely improve the more she, gets in the ring and does stuff and everything. But Miss Ma'am has the sass and the charisma of what it takes to be enthralling, and I am just here for it. So Jada, just, oh my god, I was just so proud of her in this moment. Like, she really did eat the girls up here, and I loved it. And I loved how Sol Ruka and Kalani Jordan were basically being the voices of reason here, trying to keep the sportsmanship going and everything. But like I mentioned in my predictions, I was sad that Kalani only said that the people deserve a champion like her, as opposed to mentioning how often she's been in high profile matches and lost. So, hopefully she can turn around because she is my pick to win the whole thing. But Jada, Miss Ma'am, she got it together. This was really fun. I loved it. And like I mentioned, I did love that Jordan Grace, fell into the NXT women's locker room and seemed like she belonged there. She had a moment with Meech and Mia Yim. And they even made a reference to that Paul Rudd Hot Ones interview where he said, "Who'd have thought, huh? Not me." They were looking at each other like, I never thought we would both be in WWE together like this. So I mean, it's crazy because a lot of people may or may not know that Meech and Mia Yim went to TNA, and she was in TNA before as well. So a lot of people don't know that she was a knockout. So it was really cool for them to acknowledge that on screen. And it was cool for Jordan to mix it up with Tatum Paxley in this picture, and even Ariana Grace, a girl who she isn't related to, but yet somehow has the same last name. But either way, this was really funny, and Jordan Grace definitely fits into the NXT side of things. Um, I want her to stay low key, but you know, it's okay. She can always come back. So yeah, big ups to this segment. It was really funny, and really beautiful. And I want Jordan Grace to stay, but if she just goes back to TNA and pays us a visit from time to time, it's refreshing and I'll always love it. I love crossovers. They're so fun. And of course, Javon Evans, when it comes to the men of NXT, Javon Evans impressed me when he got to fighting with Shawn Spears, and this man hit like a springboard cutter to Shawn Spears in the ring, and then stood up like it was nothing. Javon, this this man is 19 years old. He could be my little brother, and he is just out here just popping off with moves like this. He is just so bouncy, and I just love him so much. Like, I'm just really happy that he's here, and he just blesses my soul every time I see him because he's just amazing. He is just gag worthy, amazing, and I just can't wait to see more of what he has to offer. But that springboard cutter destroyed me. Never change Javon Evans. Just continue to just be yourself and pop off and gag everybody. And then also you have Ethan Page out here on the microphone, cutting people to shreds and everything. That was an amazing part of NXT as well with the contract signing and everything. And he was definitely getting on Ava's nerves. Like Ava was roll. I had never seen Ava roll her eyes so much in one NXT episode than she did here at him. So yeah, but Ethan Page is really great on the microphone. He's very enthralling and he keeps you interested. And his words cut like a knife. So this is going to be a fun ride with him here. Eric Isaac in the comments saying Javon is a future star. Absolutely. So yeah, that was really all I liked in NXT. Like they have been batting for 1,000 here lately, and I just love the Black and Gold brand forever. Um, I just love them, so it's gonna be cool. I'm ready for Battleground tomorrow. Now, moving into what I liked from Dynamite this week is my baby Willow going on her revenge tour. Um, this revenge tour is something that I am here for because Miss Ma'am is a sweetie pie, but because she's a sweetie pie, everybody think they can just run all over her. And I know this story because I am her. Like I'm well, not on a creepy tip. Like I'm not Willow, I'm Stephanie. But I've been in her shoes before where people think that just because you're this nice sweet girl that they can just run all over you and treat you any kind of way. And Willow is not that girl. She is the babe with the power for a reason. And I am so glad that she confronted Chris Statlander and Stokely after what they did to her at Double or Nothing after she lost the TBS title to Mercedes Moné. And I loved how she even tied in, wanting to fight Mercedes Moné again for the title. Like, I'm here for this because I would love for her to get that title back. Like, because by all accounts, she should. I really feel that as much as I love Mercedes, I really would have liked it better if Willow had just retained it. Um, she deserves that. So at the very least, I do hope that her and Mercedes do get a rematch. But in the meantime, in between time, I'm gonna really need for her to come for Chris and Stokely's heads, and I'm here for it. And yes, Jeffrey Willow is adorable. I love her so much too. Like she's the sweetest. But yeah, destroy everyone. Willow, destroy everyone. And another part I loved about Dynamite was the beautiful announcement that Mercedes Moné, the TBS champion, will be facing off against the New Japan Strong Women's Champion Stephanie Vacour in a title for title match at Forbidden Door. And this blessed me because if you may or may not watch New Japan, last year these two put on a heck of a match in the New Japan Strong Women's Championship tournament. Um, that match was fantastic. Of course, Mercedes wound up winning because she wound up winning and then she went to the finals to face Willow for that title. And that was sadly where she sustained her injury, where Willow won the title and everything. So now they're fighting again and it's going to be title for title. So, of course, if Stephanie wins, she'll get the TBS title. But if Mercedes wins, she'll get the strong women's title that a lot of people have argued online that maybe she could have had in the first place if it wasn't for that injury or something like that. But it's crazy because I low key feel like this feeds into a theory that I wrote about on Daily DDT, where I feel like she should go like on a belt tour where she's taking every title, every major women's title throughout all of AEW and Ring of Honor. So if she were to hold the TBS title while also holding the strong women's title, that would be a pretty sick visual, but I'm definitely here for them fighting again because Stephanie Vacour became one of my favorites after her match um with her at Resurgence last year, so I can't wait to see that match take place. But I also feel like this is the chance for AEW to let Mercedes go on a, belt collector tour and collect all the titles again. Like on some Golden Role Models 2.0 type stuff. Like, do that. Let her fight Athena and win the ROH title away from her. And maybe she'll challenge Tony Storm and win all the titles that way too. So, and then after Mercedes wins all the titles, you could have another famous belt collector in the form of Deonna Purrazzo challenge her for everything too. So, I mean, either way, I'm selfish because Mercedes is my goat and I want her to have all of her things like she deserves to have. But at the same time, oh my God, it's just crazy. But yeah, I just want her to take everything. Yes, Jeffrey, a female belt collector, just like Deonna Purrazzo was at one point. So yeah, it would just be really cool. But I'm just really happy about this match taking place. I know they're gonna cook and it's gonna be good. So yeah. And then, of course, on TNA, they announced that at Against All Odds in Chicago, which will be taking place Friday, June the 14th, Jordan Grace will have an open challenge for her Knockouts World Championship. And this could open the door for anybody to accept this challenge. But I'm here for it being Naomi, because of their past history of fighting for the Knockouts Championship. And I just feel like that would just be the coolest thing ever to see her come back as Naomi and fight for it. But here again, it could be anybody. At this point, it could be anybody who's on the roster in TNA. It could be anybody from NXT, and that would be cool too. But either way, I'm very intrigued to see how this open challenge is gonna go. Someone else who's been very active on Twitter has been Mickey James. So for all we know, she could come back and answer this open challenge. But you just never know. Jeffrey in the comments is saying people are saying it's either Tatum Paxley or Natalia. It could be Tatum because she did, she was kind of drooling over the Knockouts title on Tuesday. So it could be her. That's a really good observation. And then saying Jeffrey's also saying we still need Britt versus Mercedes. Oh, we need that too. That's on the docket too for another match that we need. But hey, I mean, we just gotta wait. But I am very intrigued to see who's gonna answer this open challenge though. Jordan Grace is a busy, busy woman and she deserves it. So I'm excited. And then I'm also happy because the Hex is on TNA now and it seems like they're being a heel tag team, but I love these women so much. I love Marty Bell and Allison Kay so much. I love their friendship, and they were really nice to me when I interviewed them in 2021 for Empower, and I just really just enjoyed their sisterhood and everything that they've been able to accomplish. So to see them on TNA television now, it's just been really great, and I hope that they're the beneficiaries of the amazingness of this wrestling era for women. So seeing them on TNA is definitely refreshing, and I hope that they do stay there because these girls are talented as heck. They're really talented. And yes, Jeffrey, Marty Bell is beautiful. She's always been beautiful. Like, oh my gosh. So big ups to them for that. Now, when it comes to what I liked in SmackDown this week, I do have a growing concern for Indy Hartwell and her partnership with Candice LeRae. Now, of course, I know that they have a partnership built from their time in NXT when they were part of the Way with Johnny Gargano and Austin Theory and stuff. And that was cool and everything. And of course, Indy was called up, even though she was injured while she was NXT champion and everything. But I almost would have liked it better if, as Candice LeRae was having her bad turn, that maybe, just maybe, Indy decided to be her own person and be, a good girl instead of a bad girl. I just feel like this is almost holding her back a little bit. And that's not to say that Candice is holding her back. I just feel like her being a heel isn't exactly the best thing for her. It doesn't feel organic. Like for some reason, I just want Indy to succeed. I want her to succeed so much. And I felt like she probably would have done a little bit better if she had just been her own person outside of the whole tag team sphere. But I don't know. Um, I don't want to say she's not in a bad place in particular, but I just would have liked it better if she had just decided to be her own person and fight against Candace and be like, no, like I'm not doing this. I want to be my own woman and not win this way. So I don't know. And I was definitely interested in watching her go one on one with Jade Cargill, but then that changed and it turned into a tag team match again. So I don't know. But I just really want more for Indy Hartwell at this point. And I want more for Candice LeRae too, but I definitely want more for Indy, seeing as she's the younger out of the two. So yeah, I just want more for her. And this segment here, in terms of watching people come into their own on the microphone between Jada Parker, um, with Jada Parker and everything, we have to talk about Piper Niven and how she is, of course, going to challenge Bailey for her women's title at Clash at the Castle. And she is from Scotland, so this is going to be a big moment for her. But I just want to talk about how proud I was to see her speak on the microphone and not have Chelsea speak all the way for her in that promo. Because of course Chelsea's really strong on the microphone. Like she's strong in a lot of different areas. But Piper really doesn't up until this point really never spoke a whole lot until now. And the fact that she got on the microphone and told her story to Bailey and her motivations to Bailey the way she did and with the ferocity she did it was just absolutely beautiful and enthralling. And I feel like a lot of people, I love that Bailey mentioned that Piper was a part of the Mae Young Classic the first time because that was where I had learned about her. And before the whole dewdrop situation happened and everything, like this woman was really tearing it up, on the Mae Young Classic and also in NXT UK and stuff like that. So, the idea that now she's reached this point where she can challenge for a title like this is just really great. Um, and just her speaking so eloquently about why she wanted to prove herself and take the title off of Bailey was just really good. But the thing that frustrated me the absolute most was the crowd in Louisville, Kentucky, saying what after everything she was saying. And I hated it so much because, yes, Piper Niven is Scottish. Yes, she speaks with a heavy Scottish accent. But saying what over and over again is just giving ignorant and it's giving, oh, well, you don't speak clear English the way that we're used to hearing it. So therefore, we don't care about what you have to say. And it pisses me off. And as much as I understand that the what chant comes from Stone Cold Steve Austin and that it's, iconic because of him, the what chant doesn't have to be used as a tool of trolling all of the time. It is so aggravating. And the idea that she was speaking clearly and saying everything she was saying, it was just really irritating. Like the same way you guys listen to Drew McIntyre speak and the same way you guys listen to Becky Lynch speak, y'all gonna listen to Piper Niven and what she has to say. It's really stupid and it's really just ignorant for people to keep saying what every time someone is speaking and they have a different accent than you. All you have to do is listen. Like it's almost like those people who complain about, oh well, these people are called like it's almost like stuff that I've heard like in passing where people will talk about people speaking in an accent and making it seem well they need to get this person to da 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 da. Do you know how privileged you sound when you say stupid stuff like that? Almost cuss. When you say stupid stuff like that, because everybody that lives in the United States does not have the same accent as you. And honestly, that makes them quite intelligent because they're learning the English language while also having their own language in their mind as well. That makes them twice as intelligent. So you being weird about people having an accent, it's just ugly to me and I just can't stand it. Like grow the hell up. People are different. Open your ears and listen to them. It's not that hard. It really isn't. Like stop. But either way, I just wanted to give Piper her flowers because this promo was really, really good, and I'm glad that she spoke up for herself. Because of course Chelsea Green can speak up for her all the live long day, but nobody tells your story better than you. And the fact that Piper was able to do that was just really great. And she even trolled the crowd every time they kept chanting what. So I like that. And she just kept rolling with it. And she didn't let it shake her. So that's the sign of a true professional. But stop being ignorant to people with different accents. And if you do it in real life, stop it there too. But, that's just my rant for the day. Moving on. We had Cody Rhodes on SmackDown. He was posted up in the parking lot waiting for AJ Styles. From the beginning of the show to almost like the very end of the show, he was waiting on AJ Styles to come out because he was so pissed off at AJ for fooling him into thinking that he was retiring and then attacking him afterward and all of the above. So he went to Gorilla and said, "Look, if you want to come out here right now because I got some stuff to say to you." And AJ was out there detailing his plan here again with the OC behind him and everything. And they were fighting each other, and the security had to break them up and everything. It was a whole brawl. But Cody Rhodes got on that microphone and said, "Look, if you want a chance at the WWE Undisputed Championship, then you've got it. But if we're gonna fight at Clash at the Castle, I'm gonna make you say something that you should have said last week, and that's I quit." So Cody Rhodes and AJ Styles are fighting for the title at Clash at the Castle in an I quit match, and I am here for it. I'm so here for it. But yeah, this is a part of the brawl that was taking place. AJ was taking advantage of security, just ganging up on Cody as if there aren't two people fighting. But either way, it was just a lot going on. But either way, it was really insane. Jeffrey in the comments saying, "Poor Mia Yim can't get forgiven or a hug, SMH." And then saying Cody's gonna make AJ quit the hard way. LOL. He really is. Like he done made him absolutely upset. And I'm really here for this I Quit match because it's been a minute since we've seen an I Quit match. So I'm really here for it. And then, of course, you have the manipulation of Paul Heyman and the Bloodline Wolfpack. Because on this episode of SmackDown, Solo Sikoa gave the title of right hand man to Tama Tonga, and then he coronated Tonga Loa into the bloodline as well. But Paul Heyman was just being real scary about it. And it just seems as if they keep using the word tribal chief to get Paul to do their bidding, even though it's clearly not coming from the tribal chief he thinks it's coming from. Solo done got a little bit too big for his britches. And he just thinks he can just, just take over the bloodline. And that's exactly what has happened. They've become a group of murderous intent. And Paul Heyman is scared for his life. And he's so emotional and he's just not sure of himself anymore. And it's it's just not giving what it used to give. And it is so sad. But hey, hopefully at some point we'll get some reprieve and get some actual answers. But Solo Sokoa and the Bloodline Wolf Pack is just destroying everything. And it is just so sad. You hate to see Paul Heyman get treated like this, especially after he just got inducted to the Hall of Fame a couple months ago. You wouldn't know it because Mr. Man is just bereft at this point. So, yeah, hopefully he'll get some relief soon. But yeah, it's crazy. Jeffrey is calling them Bloodline from Timu. I've had enough. Bloodline from Timu. That is hilarious. And something else that is intriguing me is, of course, you have the WWE Tag Team Champions in the form of Grayson Waller and Austin Theory. And during Grayson Waller's match against Johnny Gargano, there was a spot where I believe Grayson pushed Austin Theory in the way so he could take the beating for him, so he could take advantage and win the match over Johnny Gargano. And Austin Theory looked like really frustrated and mad about it. And I mentioned before on this show that I wanted to see what it would look like if Austin Theory actually like went face or turned into a good guy because there's just something about him, in his wrestling dreams that he talks about on social media that's just giving I should be a good guy and that it could be believable. So with this persona where he talks about how much he loves wrestling and how much, how passionate he is, why are you being a bad guy all the time? Why don't you embrace the good side, Join the force. Be a part of the force. Like leave the Sith alone and be a part of the force. And maybe that's something that is going to happen because Grayson Waller, he's just a very arrogant guy. And it's only so long that two big egos like that can coexist. And if Austin Theory is finally going to turn face, then my dream will come true and I'll be really excited about it. So, yeah, but I just don't know. I guess maybe they're propositioning DIY, to be the challengers for their titles next. But if this turns out to be the end of A Town Down Under, then I'm here for it. And I just want Austin to be his own man. Jeffrey in the comments saying Grayson won with distractions, and last week Austin didn't win with distractions. Think about it, Steph. Mm, that's interesting. So, yeah, I still feel like Austin Theory deserves to be his own person now. So, yeah, I believe that's pretty much it. That's all I liked in wrestling this week. It's been a pretty amazing time in wrestling so far because, of course, like I said, Clash of the Castle is coming up, Forbidden Door is coming up, Against All Odds is coming up, and then Battleground is tomorrow. So it's lots of exciting stuff happening. So, of course, thank you guys so much for joining me on the show tonight. I'm sorry I had to reschedule a bit, but I had gotten off from work and I needed to eat dinner and all that other stuff, taking care of yourself. So, with that in mind, of course, all the announcements are taking place right now. I will be at the first ever African American Comic Expo happening in Birmingham, Alabama at the AG Gasson Boys and Girls Club, and that is being held by Blurred Over. So shout out to them for inviting me to be a part of that. I will be having a panel about what it's like to be a Black wrestling fan. So if you are in the Birmingham, Alabama area on Saturday, June the 22nd, please come out and support this endeavor and chop it up with me, Brittany from Burma Slam, as well as hopefully Katrina from NCAT We Trust, as we talk about being a Black wrestling fan now. I'm really excited about it. So please come out and support. Also, please continue to watch our show, Steph and Cat Talk WoW, every Wednesday, unless otherwise stated, as we talk about the ins and outs of WoW Women of Wrestling superheroes. We've had an amazing time covering everything that's going on, especially since now we have the Beast back as the rightful WoW World Champion. So I can't wait to talk about this weekend's episode, as we get it cracking and everything. So it's just going to be really cool. So please check out every episode of that show on my YouTube channel as well as Katrina's YouTube channel and Cat We Trust if you miss an episode, and just continue to support us with that. And of course, if you're looking for somebody to be a guest on your podcast, if you're looking for a writer, a commentator, or a panelist, I'm your girl. Please contact me by emailing me at hardywrestlingpodcast@gmail.com or DM me on Instagram or Twitter /X at Queen Steph Hardy or at Hardy Wrestling Podcast on Instagram or on Twitter at Hardy Wrestle Pod. I'll make sure to answer you because my phone is always on. So I'll make sure to answer you and then we can work out rates, appearances, and all of the things because your girl wants to grow more in wrestling and spread her wings further. So please book your girl, book your girl, book your girl. And speaking of bookings, I have been booked to do commentary for Black Girls Wrestle and their wrestling event called The Blackout, which will be taking place in Daytona Beach, Florida on September the 28th. I'm so honored to be a part of this show featuring all Black female wrestling talent. Um, I'm so honored to be a part of it. Casey Lennox, who was just on the show a few weeks ago, is the reigning and first ever Black Girls Wrestle champion. There will be a tournament to see who is going to face her later on that night. So I'm really excited to be on the commentary desk with Sahara Seven, who is also an amazing Black female wrestler in this space and a former guests of the Hardy Wrestling Podcast as well. So the fact that we're working together is going to be great, and all these fantastic Black women are going to be a part of this show. I'm deeply honored and deeply moved to be a part of it. So yeah, I'm going to be commentating, and it's going to be great. And then to do it in September, which is my birth month, is also amazing too. So please support Black Girls Wrestle if you already don't. Please follow them on every social media platform there is and get the word out if you're living in the Daytona Beach, Florida area. And just continue to support women's wrestling as a whole, because this stuff like this is awesome. And I'm just really happy to be a part of it in any way, shape, or form. And read my articles on Daily DDT. My newest article was about Megan Thee Stallion and how I feel like she should be the next mainstream star that WWE should bring in next. Of course, Megan has been out here doing the dang thing on her Hot Girl tour, selling out arenas and such. And then her new album is set to come out at the end of June. So I figure with all of the rappers showing up in wrestling and stuff, with Sexy Red, Sweetie, and so many others, I feel that Megan Thee Stallion should definitely be on WWE and even get in on some in-ring action, because as it stands, we've had lots of celebrity appearances from lots of different women musicians, but they have not gotten into the ring like a Bad Bunny or like a Snoop Dogg. So if Megan were to get in the ring, it would be amazing. But of course, if you want to see more of how I feel about this subject, read my article on dailyddt.com. And then, of course, where you see my name, you could click on it and find all of my other articles that I have written. I am so proud of my writing work and how much it's growing and how much people actually like it and stuff. So, read that. I'm very proud of it. So please, be on the lookout for more writing offerings that I may have in the future. I might not write anymore this month though, because this month is really busy and I have other stuff that I have going on. So I need to, focus on that. But, just read all of my other articles from the past, please, because I'm just happy about it. I'm just really, really happy about my writing career. Jeffrey in the comments saying, I need Ice Spice and Glorilla in the ring too. Hey, that would be cool too. That would be awesome. So, yeah. And of course, please buy my merchandise at foryourwear.com/Hardy Wrestling Podcast. You can find my Beyonce t-shirt celebrating the love of Bianca and Montez as an amazing tag team in life and in wrestling. So please buy that t-shirt, available in all sizes, as well as my Alabama wrestling t-shirt in red and black, available in all sizes as well, celebrating wrestling icons from the great state of Alabama, where I am from. So, yeah, please support your girls' merchandise at foryourwear.com/Hardy Wrestling Podcast. And those are all of my announcements. So thank you guys so much for joining me on this show on tonight. And thank you guys for supporting me in my wrestling endeavors. And I am just really excited about that. You're set. Oh, actually, yesterday was Kayla's birthday. I did wish her a happy birthday. So she's always an inspiration. So it was really great. But thank you guys so much for watching my show and for supporting me and all my wrestling stuff and that I have going on. And just continue to be on the lookout, because you'll just never know where I might pop up at some point. So hey. Um, just thank you guys so very much, and just continue to support the show. I also encourage you, as you watch the YouTube show, also listen to it on audio as well, and leave great comments, and give it 5 stars if you can rate it anywhere, and just continue to support the show every time I share clips or something like that, and just continue to uplift the platform that I have. So I hope you're having a good weekend. I hope you're taking care of yourself and doing what you need to do to be the best version of yourself. And so I'm going to close the show by saying this. If you want to be somebody and if you want to go somewhere, you better wake up and pay attention. So this has been the Hardy Wrestling Podcast with your girl, Stephanie Hardy. And until next time, bye, y'all.